Vale, pero me quito ese que está más fácil. Digo para la foto.
Só afabados, não é nada. Eu vou pegar aqui um cabo. Consegue meter as duas seguidas para o meu canal? Para o
Olha, não sei, só a linha da frente está para calcular o preço. Mas vocês vão não está para calcular só a linha da frente. Vamos só passar o link para a página. Já deixo.
Oi, sou eu, Tina, I want to stay. Yeah, because they are ready to go now into the okay? Yeah, I can't find them. Okay.
Tem atenção de ler caixas.
Everyone, not just the secretary, but especially the minister, which is the perfect oath. I'm Vice Chancellor. This is the perfect oath to NATO, representing the. But the ambassador, we have been working together in Brussels in some occasions, and of course the local. Without these facilities, we cannot do anything. And this is the Air Force helping, supporting directly not only the other services, but also Portugal tries, because the JALLC is in Portugal, we try to have the best people or the people with the right competencies in the JALLC to achieve these objectives. And I think you highlighted some points already, which was perfect as entry. But the message of welcome, I think it's very important, because this is a value of NATO in our democracies, is to do the hard things and the good things in the better way possible, to give trust to the people. I think this is a message, and NATO throughout the decades, I think, evolved in this way. That's why the values of NATO, and that's not only in the NATO boundaries, we now go a little bit beyond. But what we are dealing right now is with changing environment. That's why it's one of my favorite persons. It's not with us anymore, but I think General Denis Mercier sent me this sentence like a message, and I think it's really adequate for what we are doing this past, what we did this 2017, but also what we're planning to do in 18. So innovation, nothing to do with money, but it's about people and how you are led and how much you get it. I think this is reflecting exactly the idea that that the staff, the humans, are the most important part of this. But right now, what really has changed is the time to act. Today we have information. It's all over us. You know, your question was, how do you get the information? And the time, we're always pressed with time. So, going back a little bit, because it's important to understand, to prepare the future, to look back. In these 15 years, did we do everything wrong? Obviously not. But we were not, the environment, international environment, security environment was a little bit different. So the JALLC, the Analysis Lesson Center, was focused on analysis. And so we produced more than 200 reports on scenarios and in operations, exercises, assessing and solving, making recommendations on problems, complex and enduring problems. But it was more, let's say, an on-demand action. The engagement was like this. Even our motto was the lead agent for analysis. But analysis is part of the lessons learned process. So it's by observing something, then actually it's a right, it's a best practice, or it's a lesson identified, and we make some recommendations to fix. And this can go from the tactical level to the very strategical level as you stand in your daily business. So how to do this is a simple process, and it becomes a lesson learned when we fix that problem. So very easy to say, but very difficult to do. So these reports really contributed to these lessons learned in the learning and the knowledge of NATO to improve and to adapt throughout the years. So with this, in these 15 years, actually we had this 15th anniversary on the 20th of September. That was the event that was mentioned by the minister, that General Denis Mercier was here, and actually we produced a book with all those, with all that information, okay? But if we look back to the last 5-10 years, things changed a lot. And I've read your Outlook 2018, and maybe using your words, really, we need to adapt. Is it something new? No, it's not new, because we did this since 1949 when we start NATO. Just if we look decade by decade, we see NATO doing what? Adapting to the international environment. Right now, the challenges are huge, especially on the information. That's why the concerns about cyber and all this. And so we are surrounded with information. Then, if we collect a lot of information, well, that's good, but not enough, because then we need to do something with it, and that's the challenge. That's the challenge. So, what really changed? General Denis Mercier and I, we talked about it, but actually the two supreme commanders, they thought about this when we are changing. NATO is changing the way we face exercises, for instance. So we're now talking about war fighting and warfare development. Typically our action of lessons learned is related to the warfare development, so that we build the capabilities and fix the problems that we have. The way to do that, that's why they call it a refocus of the JALLC action. So, so it's not new. So it's it's as a result we adapted our mission to fulfill this objective, to face, to have maybe we have the right tools, but we have to interact in a different way. So now, this was during 2017. So actually, the question that we're trying to answer was: are we doing things right? And maybe we are doing, but is it really this that we should be focusing? And I think we decided that we now should be more focused on the lessons. And what does this mean? Is some information is out there. We have a good policy. Actually, our policy was good. And this policy being good, then why don't we have the information in the right place? Actually, this is another idea from General Denis Mercier, and that's takes us to the point of the portal. The portal is where we should store the information. And that information is not there sometimes. It's everywhere. So we need to bring this information into one point. So for that, our first action is to merge all this information and to collect this. But this is still a slow process. Is this enough? Maybe not. We need to be faster. We need to adapt faster to this. That's why we're trying now to be lessons learned agent focused, not just the analysis portion of this process. So we adapted this new mission, and with this transformation, we are trying to be more proactive. But again, another question was, because a lot of questions, more questions at this time than answers, but we are really progressing, because what we did is, if we do it this, then should we have one identity to do all this in one place, or should be the working of together? And the conclusion, I think, it's all we need to work together, especially to be proactive. So the JALLC, different from the past to the present, is we need to go there. The outreach plan and engagement with the leadership is essential, so that leaders like yourself understand this, and then we can, on the daily business, look at our activities and gather this information by human input into a portal, and then share this between us. Not only the allies, but also another important message is to share this with the partners. And then we improve their capabilities also. This is directly coming from the summit, World Summit, that was decided by the nations to share as much as possible with the partners. So that's why I put on these bullets, the past a little bit, how did we change to the present, what we are doing now in 18, so we adapt. So I had to adapt the staff to work in a different way. One assumption was made. We are not changing the numbers, we are using the same number of people, but looking at the competences of the people, what they can do and provide for this, to work together with all NATO command structures, but also with NATO force structure, like Strike for NATO as an example, but also with partners. And for this I have a slide that will explain where do we go. But a key word, if I may, it was optimization. So we are optimizing the method. And I'm from Portugal, and you, sir, are from Norway. So I think really the most important message is what can we do to help everyone? Is we want to help allies and partners how to fish, not to bring, our best food that we know that is. So we focus our action on the tool, which is the portal, and the human capital, which is the training, how to interact with information. Now, in the future, and I think, and this is where we are going, is to go inside NATO boundaries. So we have here Spain, Italy, UK, Poland, but we also have the Balkans. But we can see also on the board Australia, we have Algeria. We're going to places like this, Kosovo. So our
What do you mean by going?
Yes, when we go there, we build the team which is called the Joint Advisory Training Team. So we go there and try the methodologies to do the lessons learned so that they improve their capabilities. So they have really capability, because the capability is about using some tools and the people to know about to use this tool and to learn from this information. So when we go there, we provide them with our best advisory. We build, it's a small thing, and small things normally tend to work. It's 2 to 3 people that go there, and that's what we're going to do. In the case of Australia, is more than that. They normally come to our annual conference to learn and share information and learn and to take courses with us. But this year, in the outreach plan, we are going there to teach them how to improve their human skills to interact with data and with the portal in this case. So another important thing is we have operations, but we have exercises, and exercising is quite important. If I may, this point is important to mention, and in your case, an example always worked very well, is you remember CMX 17, your exercise. And that was an event that we participated directly to support you with our staff, with the knowledge, but also with the tools. And some outcomes relates us to other problems that I mentioned before, working together. For instance, we are not alone in the world. We cannot act alone. So we need this information exchange. So we need to share this learning. So, for instance, another example is the relation between NATO and EU. So we have a project right now ongoing in how, on a daily basis, during an exercise, if there is a crisis, how do we do this? So we are fixing and improving because we have good connections. And I think in the last few years, we did improve a lot in the relations and especially in actions, concrete actions. And this is where I'm talking about the concrete action. How to exchange information. What problems that we have and what do we need to fix. Okay? The other idea is that in the past, if we look really in the past, everything was a very classified environment. Today, we have to operate in a different way. So when I'm talking about this portal, we have a classified, obviously, version, but also there is unclassified that we can work with partners. So this is the way and the tool that we use. But this brings me a little bit to the end of this conversation, maybe a change of ideas. We have things like big data that everyone is talking about. We need to understand better what the private sector is doing. We need to know what academia is doing. So we're having a couple of events this year to understand better this problem and to optimize better this tool, because it's not enough. And we are thinking things like maybe in the 2, 3, 4 years maximum to bring artificial intelligence to analyze some data that we cannot process as humans also, and to learn from that. So that's the challenge, is not to look just to a classical problem, because this year we updated the portal. Of course, we ask the users, we improve the user friendliness of the product, but in fact, we need more than that, because we are surrounded by information. It's an information age, so we need to deal with this, and we need to learn from them. And if we look outside, other companies, and my initial quotation, you see Apple, IBM, other companies, they do this. Also, they have this problem, and they solve it. But we also have to look to small, and we had a big event in Lisbon, the Web Summit, for instance. There are simple companies that they sometimes bring solutions out of the shelf, and then we need to adapt. Before, NATO was developing complex technology, so the word is to use technology in favor to our actions. And that's why I put this bullet of better understanding big data, because in this we can fit a lot of this. So we can see in ACT is in the future to use smart search engines that brings this to the decision-making process. Of course, at this stage we are defining the requirements, and then at the end, I think in 2, 3 years, I think it's possible, because there's a lot of, we don't need to build solutions. If it's 10, 20 years is too much. So it's about modernization in support of NATO military organizations. And to summarize all this, what do we do here to contribute to all this? This is actually the main 6 activities that we do in direct support of all this that I've been speaking about. It's the portal, it's the central point, it's a more active engagement. It's more, before it was on demand, now it's like push-pull information. So we need to have people here working on this. This is more a technological and technical part. The analysis part, we need to do something with information and we need to train the people, but most important, we need to go and engage the people. My job as the commander is to engage with the leadership and make sure on the exercises we support them, but they know what's, and this is changing, and we expect to see this change in 18, but especially in the next few years. So support to exercises are essential and events to learn more. That's why I think it's really up to date, the motto of the Light Command transformation, which really, what I'm saying is we're trying to improve today, but we are trying to understand the future and maybe trying to shape it a little bit, and we're trying to bridge it too. We do this with tools like the Optimization Action Plan, with these interactions. So I thank you very much for your visit. This is a startup of the journey of the visit to Portugal, and this is actually the information that I have, and if you have any questions or any of you, I'll gladly try to answer that.
So I have a question, and that is, so first of all, thank you for your briefing. It's very useful for me to be updated and briefed by you. But to have a better understanding, can you give me some examples of what kind of lessons learned that you think are perhaps the most relevant or most important one over the last couple of years? Also in missions or projects or whatever?
Exactly. Well, always an example that we use is the protection of civilians. We did this based on Afghanistan operation, which was ISAF. This was a product that is, and all these products are, by the way, available in our webpage, so it's open to everyone to explore. You know, allies. And I think this was in this environment. I think this project, this is one of the ones that I would mention, that I mention in every single brief that I brief, is the protection to civilians. How did we diminish the casualty on protection? So the topic is protection of civilians. The other thing is we did topics like maritime, for maritime operations. We did several projects, but especially also another project that I can mention was the support to exercises. How to use better exercises to improve, because we need to improve always. Things are changing. These are concrete projects that we did, and right now with the focus on lessons learned, we are gathering and we are working on lessons from operations, working together with even with the United States, with the Lessons Learned Center. We do work a lot with others at the same, and trying to merge this into this new focus. That's a concrete project, and we have this NATO-EU information exchange. This is something really important, but you know, it's difficult to highlight, you know, from 200 projects. I think I would mention this.
But then a related question, when you then have lessons learned from Afghanistan and protection of civilians, as I asked in the other room, how do you get the data?
It's by engaging in, so we send the people, yes,
and ask them to report.
So and then we engage with the commander and with the staff there. So actually, it's not just our JALLC members that they go there and collect everything. That's why we need everyone. Actually, everyone is the community that needs to put the information. So there are different processes, and we are improving the standardization of this process. So in this case, yes, we went there to the field. My staff is deployable. But if you can imagine, NATO is in so many places, we cannot have a JALLC with that size. So that's why my idea before is the way to tackle this, and actually we test this. I have another example for this, for you, sir, and it's related to the recent environment. We did deploy to the Baltics. You know, the brigades are there. Okay, so one of the actions that I did pay a visit to Izmir, to Landcom, because we know each other very well, and he asked me his direct support. So actually, with this action and with the multinational Southeast General Hoffman coordination, we did register all the good things, because lessons learned is not looking to what went wrong. It's a lot about what we did right and share this with others, which is called best practices. So this example is about EFP. Right now, we are, I think by the end of this, middle of this year, we'll produce a handbook. And handbook is people that, military people, we like to have books and it's very concrete things. But we will have a handbook about the lessons on deploying to the Baltics. And that's another project that we did, is host nation support. How do we do it with the crisis? We did this a lot in the 80s, 70s and 80s because of the security environment at the time. But now we seem to forget this a little bit. I remember because I'm a 35-year fighter pilot. We always fighter pilots say they are fighter pilots, I know that. But actually, I remember those decades when I was a young lieutenant and captain, all those rules, and this we are relearning, but we have that data. So we are just adapting to the current situation. So that's the best thing that we can do, is to never forget what we did and then adapt the tools to do it even better and in a smart way. That's what we're trying to contribute with, especially those activities. But I think, if I have to say, it's a common thing to say. That's why we try to do this with a small staff. We are just 50, and this is, we are doing this adaptation with this 50. Maybe in the future will be the future of this. We're just changing the team, but we are still playing the same game. That's the message. We are still playing the same game, but we're trying to be more proactive, more adaptive, and to include everyone. And that's why after this is, I think, a very good moment for me as a commander, is that you meet the staff. Yeah. And with the Book of Honor, which is, and finalized with a classical family picture. But I think this is the highlight, and I think the people, and what I said before, this is what we're trying to do to involve everyone into this, the portal, the improvement, the classical approach, but also in the future, how can we contribute to this? That's exactly what we are doing now.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I will invite now you, sir, to go and put some words in our Book of Honor, if you were so kind, and then we'll meet the staff, and then we go outside for the family picture.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay? Thank you very much.